Today, the September 2022 housing numbers were just released, and I've been out all day in the market, and I wanted to rush back and be able to do this video so you would have current information. So we know it's changing. So is it crashing? Is it across the board of Florida? Did the recent hurricane that we had here play a part in the market? And what about those interest rates? Who can afford to finance? And at this point, are there great deals right now for you to take if you are a buyer out there? Well, come with me as I explain what the latest numbers in the housing market is, especially for South Florida, and it starts right now. So hi, I'm Maria Wells, and I work on the Treasure Coast of Florida, which encompasses about 10 little different communities like Stuart, Palm City, Jensen Beach, and more. My facts about the housing market are based on statistics from Florida Realtors, but also my knowledge having worked in this for so long. And I actually had sat in and was chairman of the research committee, both state level and national level, to really understand housing numbers and the trends that they represent. So let's discuss the facts. Housing is critical to everyone. In fact, I always call it's a canary in the coal mine, because if the housing market is not sustaining and vibrant, so many other industries all fall down too, because people, when they purchase homes, they're going to buy furniture and different things that they're going to do. And so the housing market is very important to the overall economy that we have. So we're looking at interest rates right now that are at 22-year high. That means we have not seen these increases since the year 2000. Right now, if we look at it a year ago, interest rates are about 3%. That's a 4% increase in interest rates. And what does that relate to in a payment? Well, that's about a 40% higher mortgage payment than you would have had a year ago. So if you take our average median home prices, which in Martin County, where I'm from, is about $550,000, you're looking at least an $800 to $1,000 more per month payment. It is predicted, and actually pretty close to 100%, at about 96%, that interest rates in November are going to go up another 75 basis points. That will be huge and is going to play a huge impact on the housing market. Now, cash sales are still strong, which represents about almost 40% of our sales here. So that's still good, but that's going to be affected because people are not going to want to take money out of their investments or their portfolio to pay cash for a house when everyone has lost so much on the stock market. Now, what is different is that we are seeing many out-of-state buyers coming into Florida for many reasons. The low property taxes, the stability of Florida, and they're coming with cash because their homes up north actually sold for more than what our homes have. So our inventory is increasing, and actually it's not by all that much. We are currently at 2.7 months of inventory, and a normal market would be 6 months. And actually, if I look at month over month, we were sort of flat in increasing inventory, but when we do it year to date from September 22 to September 21, that's where we get the 2.7 months, which is equal to almost 100% difference, because we had only about 1 month of inventory the same time last year. Now let's talk about sold prices. Sold prices are still increasing at about 21% from the same time last year, yet closed sales are down about 15%, a little less than previous months, and that's comparing it year to date. So the 15%, we sold that many more homes the same time last year, but on a month-to-month basis, we're not seeing a drastic change of this. It's not like what you would think with neon lights, but it is decreasing for many reasons. Now, the recent hurricane that we had, did it have an impact on buyers even if we weren't in the direct path? Now, I am on the southeast coast of Florida, and pretty much the whole state was impacted, and we had winds and strong winds, and people that wanted to fly in to see homes could not come here. So it did impact sales. It delayed things by a couple weeks, which is reflective sort of in our numbers. However, what's interesting is that people still were coming down. Now, with those facts, like I mentioned, sold prices are higher, our sales are down, interest rates are up. The housing market is complicated if you take all of those into consideration. So the buyers are in a really tough spot right now. And if you're a buyer, I really sympathize with you, and make sure you find yourself a really qualified realtor to help you navigate in this market. Because with the interest rates high, you've lost so much of your buying power. But in addition, if you have to rent because there's no other choice, well, rental rates have still skyrocketed. Do I think they're going to come down? To a certain extent, but we haven't reached that part in the market yet. Owners of homes are still holding onto their properties unless they absolutely have to sell their home. Why? Because many of them bought at 3% interest rates, and they don't want to sell their home and move into another home and pay the current rate of 7%. And that is suppressing our inventory also, instead of seeing it just flourishing up to high numbers. Now, our out-of-state buyers are still on full throttle to come to Florida for the reasons I mentioned to you before of being in Florida. Now, they're looking for great deals, and many of them are disappointed that they're not finding them because there's probably that going on in the other parts of the country, but Florida just hasn't been impacted by that as of yet. Now, if you look at the statistics, we have to be heading into a slowdown, but in Florida, we're still a little insulated, as I just mentioned, but it's going to happen. There's no way with the interest rates, stock portfolios down, that unless people really have to move, are they going to move? And it will put pressure on sellers who need to sell and be able to get their home sold during a time with these high interest rates. So there's a good chance you may find that deal out there, but they just won't be as common as what we saw in the Great Recession. On the other hand, new construction builders are making deals. They want to unload some of their inventory. They have planned a lot of build outs for next year, and they want to try to get them off the market, off their books before interest rates go really high. Now, many of the builders not only will work on you with the price of the home, which I've never seen in all my years, but they actually are lowering prices, and many of them have worked out great deals with their mortgage companies to be able to offer you a lower rate. But I am going to tell you the most important piece of that information is make sure you work with a realtor, because remember, a builder is a seller. Nobody else is representing you. So get someone who's going to go in there and fight for you and do a great negotiation. Plus, you may not know all the pros and cons of the different construction in the area, and it's important to talk to someone who doesn't have the skin in the game but can offer you a lot of information and knowledge in doing so. Now, as far as I want to call it in this market, it's not crashing or anything like that. I do not feel we call this anything other than an adjustment to the housing market. Unlike the housing crash where people didn't have skin in the game, now most people have paid cash. They have so much equity in their home. They're not going to be handing the keys over to the mortgage company. They're either going to sell the home if they happen to be in a bad situation with a job, or they're going to hang on to it. So most likely there's going to be far and few great deals, at least in South Florida. But the good news is, because with the interest rates higher, I do not believe that the sold prices will continue to rise. It'll be sort of an ebb and flow with those prices. I do believe will equalize versus going up in price. Now, let's talk about waiting until the interest rate goes down. I bet there's some of you out there that when the interest rates went to 5%, you thought you'll wait till it goes down and you really need to buy a home. Well, now they're at 7%. You've just lost a lot of buying power. So if you really need to buy a home because the rental rates are so high and you qualify even at these higher rates, I would suggest that you really consider purchasing. It sure is better than renting, and to be able to build some equity. And then if the rates go down, which it is predicted once we get through this recession, you can refinance at that point in time. Now, housing prices, like I said, should stabilize and most likely go flat, which is a good thing. Also, if you're contemplating with the higher interest rates and what do? You know, sometimes you just have to make the best decision at the time. Do we see a crash where you're going to lose everything in your home? For all the reasons I just mentioned to you, no. So again, talk to your mortgage person, talk to your realtor, and make sure it's a good decision. I want you to please remember to hit the subscribe and the bell to receive my videos that are released every Tuesday, which will give you information on the market, real estate tips and tricks, and even a market update. And in the meantime, let's go to this video to give you more real estate information and making a good decision whether buying or selling. And until next time, Happy house hunting.